Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to begin with our third chapter in history, that is applied history. In this chapter we are going to see how history is useful and applicable in our day-to-day life, and we are also going to see how history is helpful in each and every field of life, that is for example media, sports, then engineering, architecture, tourism. So there are so many fields, or rather each and every field history is very important. How it is important and why it is very important to study history, that we are going to study in this chapter. Also, till now we had a notion, we had a feeling, or we had the feeling that history is useful and applicable, or history should be studied by only those people who choose their career or who choose history as their career and who wish to do something in the field of history. Only they should study history. But in this chapter you will come to know that history is not necessary for only particular fields or only fields related to history, but then history is related to each and every field and in our day-to-day life as well. So children, let us begin with history, applied history. Applied history. In this chapter we are going to see what is applied history and research in various fields, applied history and our present management of cultural and natural heritage and affiliated professional fields. So what is applied history? Applied history is also known as public history. Applied history is a field of history concerned with the application of history for the benefit of people in the contemporary and future times. This applied history means it is the study of history it is a field of study concerned with the application, how to use, or the use wherein you can use history for the benefit of people in the contemporary, that is present, and in the future times. Knowledge of history is useful as it can provide guidance in finding solutions to contemporary social issues and incorporate them in the social planning. How it is useful? Because it can give us a guidance, it can give us a help, or it can give us some suggestions which can be useful for providing solutions in the present, in the social issues, current social issues, and use them in our social planning for the future. Knowledge of history is essential for this purpose. The projects and programs related to applied history can create opportunities for people to participate along with the technical expert. Now, because of this, the projects and programs which are related to applied history can create opportunities. They can give us opportunities for people to participate. The people who have knowledge of applied history can contribute or will get an opportunity in the projects and programs wherein they'll have an opportunity to work with the technical experts. Their participation in the capacity of tourists visiting museums and ancient sites is also important. The knowledge of applied history is very important in the people wherein who visit, if they work as a tourist in museums or another ancient sites wherein we need experts or people with the knowledge of past to reveal more about the monuments or about the things which are kept in the museum. For this purpose, it is very important that we have someone to guide us, someone to help these tourists, because just seeing the monuments will not give you that information. If you have a guide with you, if you have someone with you who knows more about the place, more about the stories related to the place, or more about the knowledge of that particular area, region, or monument, then it is more helpful and it is more easy to understand, and it will last longer, and this knowledge will be very helpful. So it is very important to have someone with the knowledge of past, knowledge of history related to that particular monument or particular museum or particular things kept in the museum. So it becomes very helpful, it becomes very easy to understand, and it becomes long lasting as well. They can volunteer to participate in the conservation and preservation projects of their own city or town or village. there are so many things of historical importance in the cities or villages very close to us. So the people who have good knowledge of history can definitely contribute in the preservation and conservation of such monuments in their area, or they can go far away also, but they can definitely contribute to the conservation and preservation. Conservation and preservation means to hold the monument from further, like after a period of time everything's are bound to deteriorate and get, you can say, things positions get bad, like everything needs maintenance and development and necessary things to preserve. So the people with appropriate knowledge can definitely contribute for the how they can preserve the monuments and stop from further spoilage of that particular monument. So preservation and conservation is related to the related to preserving and enhancing the glory of that monument, or enhancing the state of that monument or things, or uh, such things. Okay, we'll just see this box. In the interest, it is interesting to know public history. People have a lot of misgivings about the practicality of the knowledge of history. For example, history is usually thought as a field of interest only for historians and students wishing to pursue higher studies in the subject and not pertaining to practical life. History, as a field of knowledge, does not have any applicability to economically productive fields, etc. So so students, we have so many beliefs, wrong beliefs about history. Like we feel that history is a subject which is pursued or which is taken or opted by the people only who are historians, or for the students who have interest in history and who wish to make their career in history. Or we have also a feeling that, or we also think that history as a field of knowledge does not have any applicability. It is not applicable to the fields of economically productive fields, means to those fields which really can make money or have good earnings. That is what we have thinking about history. Public history helps us to overcome such misgivings and makes history meaningful in everyday life, connecting people to history. So this is wrong, this is not a correct thinking. So it public history, like applied history, helps us to overcome such feelings, overcome such thinking, and it makes history meaningful in everyday life, connecting people to history. So it makes us familiar with history and how it is connected in our day-to-day life as well, that we'll come to know in this chapter. There are many universities abroad where various courses in public history are offered. Srushti Institute of Art, Design and Technology is an institute at Bangalore, Karnataka. This institute has an independent department named Center for Public History. This department has taken up various projects and research in the field of public history. Children, earlier we have only few fields, but now you can see there are lots and lots of different fields. And earlier we thought of like only history can be a field, but now even applied history, which is we thought only a chapter or a very small section of history, that itself is a career option now. You can have your degree in that particular small topic now. So not only history, but then so many fields. We can see there are so many different fields wherein we never thought this can be a subject also, but now that is not only a subject, but you can have your specialization degree and you can have your career in that small part of a subject as well. So there is a lot of development, and public history is now included as a subject wherein you have a in India itself, in Bangalore, Karnataka, we have Srushti Institute of Art, Design and Technology. It is an institute which offers it has an independent department for public history. Okay, so we can study public history there as well. Applied history and research in various fields. History is about the past events. The way our present lifestyle is shaped is dependent on the historical chain of events. Historical events relate to various fields like politics, social and religious structure of a community, philosophy, technology and science, etc. Each of these fields have their own history of building knowledge. The direction of future future development is in every field is dependent on the state of available knowledge. Hence, the method of history can prove to be of value in the research of various fields. So many things we come across in our day-to-day life, like we use maths, simple maths in our day-to-day life. When we go and buy something, we give them money, take money in return, we buy goods, the cost of those commodities. So we use maths. Similarly, we use many different subjects or many different concepts in our life, like politics. We discuss politics, we are a part of politics sometimes. Social and religious structure of a society, how the religious and social structure, about the religion, about the social life that we live every day. Then philosophy, technology, science, etc. So many fields we use these subjects not very thoroughly, but somewhat we study in our day-to-day life. We come across these fields day-to-day life, and how each and every field, these topics are related to history, or the previous knowledge of each and every field or each and every concept is very important, and how it is useful in our day-to-day life, that we are going to see. And you'll come to see that the method of history can prove to be of value in the research of various fields. If we are going to have some research, if there is some research in each or every subject, any topic research, history is very useful. The subject history is very useful, and it is not possible to study any particular, or any research cannot be done without the use of history of that particular subject or field, that we are going to see one by one. Philosophy. The history of philosophy helps in understanding the origin of various ideologies, the intellectual traditions giving rise to those ideologies, and their historical development. For example, we can see that even in philosophy, if we are going to study philosophy, we get to know how that particular topic of philosophy came into existence, how it began, why was the necessity or various things which forced to come to that theory, or come to that, what were the different things that were that made this process, or made this concept to origin, that we are going to see. That is very important. The intellectual traditions giving rise to those ideologies and their historical development. The things which make the intellectual traditions that giving rise to those ideologies. Now we have few ideologies: we should do this, we should not do that, or what a person should do. I have a different ideology, you must be having a different ideology. You must be feeling that what a person should do is he should do this, and he should definitely not do that. My perception might be very different, but then what were the particular intellectual traditions about that particular thing in that particular situation, and why this decision was taken, or why this theory was put forth, this we can study only with the help of previous knowledge, and their historical development, and how that particular thing went on developing. To give a good example for this, I think we all have heard stories like about the rabbit and the tortoise. We all know that story. Rabbit was very fast, but then in the mid he slept, and so he could not reach the end finish point earlier, and tortoise was very slow and consistent, and so he could reach or finish, and he came first. So this was the story which we used to be told in our childhood. But as you grow up, you will feel that no, only going slow and steady will not make me win the race. On the contrary, I should be fast and consistent. So when the story came, when the story was first, earlier it used to be told, that time being slow and consistent. So you may or may not be slow, but being consistent or keep on doing the effort tirelessly was the concept. But and for that, going slow was advisable. But in today's world, when the life has become so fast, if we go by that speed, that will not be enough for us. There will be thousands of people who come from behind us and then cross us and go ahead, and they might be very consistent as well. So now the concept is fast. Later on, the concept was fast and steady. Fast and consistent and steady will make you win the race. Now the concept has further changed, and now we can say that the whatever talent the tortoise has, he can share it with the rabbit, and whatever talent rabbit has, he can share it with the tortoise, and they both together can combine, and then they can move ahead, wherein they are consistent as well as fast, and they can both win the race, helping each other. So these are the different thought processes which keep on growing or changing depending upon the time and situation. So what it was earlier and why it was so, that we can come to know about the history, and when a particular thing was done in a particular way in the past, what were the results that we come to know. Based on that results, we can use that knowledge and make improvements or changes. Like if we do the particular thing, like now we can say that if we follow the idolize the tortoise, and if we are steady and if we are consistent, but if our speed is slow, we are not going to win the race. This we can come to know only after having the past experience. So we can definitely apply it in our current life, that we should not be slow, we should be definitely consistent and steady, but we should not be slow. We have to increase our pace as well. So only from the past knowledge we come to know that these things should be done, or these things should not be done. From the rabbit we can learn that we should not be overconfident, we should not be lazy, like start the things with great enthusiasm and then give up in between and then again start. We should not do that as well. We should be very consistent in our efforts. So there are so many things we can learn only from our past experience, and whatever is in the past is history, you all know. Philosophy needs language as a medium of expression. In order to understand the philosophical expression, knowledge of history of language proves useful. As we have seen in the earlier chapter, that there is in the Harappan, during the excavation, we have got so many inscriptions or so many sources in the past during the excavation related to the Harappan city, but the language is so different that it is not we are still unable to read it properly or understand whatever was written on the rocks, because the script used in those Harappan times was very different, and what we are using now is very different. So in this world, or at this time, the knowledge of that past script is known to very less people, and therefore so many things written in that civilization are not yet decoded or not yet understandable to the people in this era. So it becomes very difficult. So even if we have the past knowledge, it is very important to express, and when we express our thought process, it is very important that what we express today, that may or may not be understandable in the very future. So the knowledge of history of language again proves to be very useful. For that we have to have the knowledge of languages of those past as well. Science. The history of science helps in understanding the chronological order of scientific discoveries, inventions and theories. It can also help to understand the cause-effect chain that lead to those discoveries and inventions. It is said that need is the mother of invention. Scientific discoveries or inventions are often the effects of human efforts to fulfill a need and also curiosity. These efforts are based on already available scientific knowledge. Knowledge of history of science helps in understanding the factors that facilitate a scientific discovery or invention and also its chronology. Now when we talk about science and history, it is like the history of science helps in understanding the chronological order of scientific discoveries. What was invented first? After that, what were the changes made in that? After that, what changes made? And what we have today that has went through so many changes. So what changes we underwent? That we come to know about. Then inventions, about those discoveries, inventions and theories. It can also help us to understand the cause effect chain that led to those discoveries and inventions. Like we can also come to know that what were the changes made and what were the why those changes were made, like what were the causes and what were the effects. So the cause effect chain, like when this was discovered and then this was done, so after doing this there was third thing which came into existence, and after that again changes were made and again this was applicable because the circumstances changed, the background changed, so the changes were made and what changes happened, and so what was the effect, and then again what were the resulting changes. So all this we come to know about only by the study of history. It is said that need is the mother of invention, because we keep on needing so many things, so that is where the inventions come into existence. When we like somewhere I had read that Johnson, his wife used to cut her fingers so many times. Every time she used to chop vegetables or do work in the kitchen and chop something, she used to cut her finger, and that is where Johnson felt that he should make something which would really help her get rid of the cuts or wounds which she has on her finger. So that is how that need or that feeling made him invent band-aid. That is how band-aid was invented, because his wife used to cut her finger every time she used to chop, so he felt that there should be small strips which she could put on her finger if she has some cuts. Now in today's world, what we will think, that what you may think or what I thought is, instead of finding those strips, now those we have band-aids, but now what is more important, that what is a thing which I can do so that I don't cut my finger at all. So now my requirement is different, my thinking is different. What he thought that was also correct, and that gave rise to the invention of band-aids. So similarly, there are different situations, there are different needs wherein we need something, and that need, that our demands make us invent new things. Scientific discoveries, inventions are often the effects of human efforts to fulfill a need and also curiosity. Sometimes we are very curious about so many things. Now it has become very easy. Whenever we are curious about something, what we do is we just Google that. It's a very good habit, because we can enhance our knowledge just by finding it on the Google. But earlier, when there was no Google, even if a thing was known to a particular area or particular section of people, it was not known to all. Like whatever is known to anyone now, they can put it on the Google. It is available for each and everyone. Earlier it was not like that. So whenever there is some curiosity, whenever we feel the need of knowing something, why is it so, how is it so, when it was done, all these things, then there were efforts to find out the fulfill that need of curiosity as well. These efforts are based on already available scientific knowledge. Now whatever knowledge is available by now, that is used to find out something new. So whatever knowledge is available till now, that also knowing is a part of history. Knowledge of history of science helps in understanding the factors that facilitate a scientific discovery, inventions, and also its chronology. Now, whatever are available in the field of science as well, that is available, that we should know the history of those inventions and also the chronology. Chronology is the sequence. What was um, what was invented first, after that what came into existence, after that what changes were made, and then what was done. So the chronology, what was decided first, what came up first, all this is also very important. Technology. The history of technology helps in understanding the changes that and their causes in the field of agricultural production, commodity production, architecture, engineering, etc. Now the history of technology. If you see, there is so many development in the field of technology as well. Earlier you have seen in your earlier standards also that earlier the production of cloth was on the looms, hand looms. So making of one particular, say one sari or one bed sheet used to take weeks, sometimes months as well. But then with the development in the field of technology, science and technology, the technology developed so much that today we can see within few minutes there are so many saris which are woven. So this was not a gradual process, that it was not that one day it took few months and just after few days there was invention and rather development in the technology, and the next month onwards there were so many saris, like thousands of saris made in a single hour. It was not so, it was a gradual development. So understanding the changes, so what changes were made? Instead of man there were machines were used, but then the capacity of the machines was less. Gradually the capacity was increased, the space increased, the concept changed, and what changes took place, and how after undergoing so many changes the final product, like the final technology usage which we are seeing now, that has come into existence. So this is these say changes and their causes. What, because of these changes, what has happened? Like earlier there were only fans. Earlier, in the still earlier phase wherein there was no electricity, that time those there were hand fans, like the Japanese fans. You just blow air to yourself, which we still do when we do not have power supply. After that, then there were fans. Then as per our needs, either ceiling fans, table fans, wall mount fans. Then there were so many types. The concept was same, fan, but then it's depending upon its application or depending upon its usage, we found out so many ways to install that. Standalone fan, you can carry it anywhere, this room to that room. When this was not sufficient, when the fans were not sufficient, the heat increased. That time, now the heat increased, and earlier there were mud houses which were cool, but then we eventually moved to the cement concrete houses which were hot. Therefore the cooling of the fan was not sufficient, and therefore it was a need to invent coolers. The coolers were different. Old types of coolers were very different, but then there are new modern coolers as well now, wherein they are also very you can say handy. So they came into existence. Then came the ACs. Now even when we are using the ACs, we are air conditioners, we are so used to them and they are so good in cooling. Then the air conditioners were modified into car ACs, window ACs, split units. So many variation in the AC itself, air conditions itself was done. So you can see with the changing time the things changed. Even if the things don't change, the concept of the same thing, application of the same thing keeps on changing. So things, that is how you can see technological development changes particular things. Understanding changes and their causes in the field of agricultural production, commodity production, architecture, engineering. So you can see the changes in the field of each and every field, may it be agricultural production, Agriculture was also done earlier. Human and animals were used in that, using bullocks. Later on we have seen that instead of wooden, metal things were used. Then again increasing further, or developing further, we have seen tractors were used in agriculture. Now you can see extensive lands can be cultivated very easily with the help of mechanized farming. Also, if we have to say about farming, there are so many sites which are available. Earlier it was only what the fathers used to tell or the grandfathers used to tell. On their knowledge itself we used to go on. There used to be farming on the basis of the earlier generations experience. And now we can see we have technology, we have enough equipments to check the quality of the soil, the climatic conditions and weather, and so many things, availability of water, and so many things which contribute to the production, agricultural production. And all this information is available on the internet, and we have experts in this field who can guide us or guide the farmers about the production activities. So in each and every field we can see there is a lot of development. Architecture, engineering, commodity products, you can see a variety of products now. Only pencils, if you see, there are n number of brands making pencils with making slight differences, and using marketing techniques. So there are so many development in the production architecture. Also you can see so many different types of buildings or monuments or theaters, using so much of different technologies they are made. Also engineering, in all these fields we see that there is a lot of development. Scientific discoveries, inventions and technological advancement are mutually dependent on each other. We can see that the discoveries and the technological advancement, science and technology, are very much interdependent, and they mutually depend upon each other. Knowledge of science and technology was very important at every step, from the making of stone tools to agricultural production in the evolution of mankind. We can say that we all know that the contribution of science and technology in the evolution of man was very, very important, and it has a great contribution right from the stone age to today's age, where we have so many development, where we have so much technology, and there is so much of use of science. Later, the advancement of science promoted the mechanization of production. It is necessary to know the history of technology in order to understand the development of mechanization and the mutual dependence between science and history. To know about how they are interconnected or how they are dependent on each other, and about the past knowledge of science related to science and technology, how the development took place in the field of science and technology. Also, we need the knowledge of past, that is the knowledge of history. Industry and commerce, the field of mutual social transactions expand with the growth of industry and trade. It also promotes continuous development of the network of cultural interactions. It is an integral part of the industrial and commercial management. Okay, now so many things are interdependent on each other. Earlier we have seen that the production was less. Eventually, as the production went on, the necessity that the goods which are produced in more quantity were not consumed in the same area. So there was a necessity that the goods should be sold in the other area also. For that, the technology of transport and communication was useful. When these goods manufactured at one place started to be sold in the other parts also, taking the help of transportation. Thereafter, when there were new markets, more markets, the production had still to be increased. There is where technology had to be improved so that the production, quantity of production and quantity of production should go up. Now when there was not only one company or one manufacturer doing this, there were all the manufacturers who were doing this, were producing in one place and were also selling their goods on the other markets, in the other markets. So when this came up, there was a competition between the goods. Like when there are 2 pencils or 3 pencils manufactured, why should anyone take a pencil of a particular brand? Then if it has a better quality, or if it has a low price, or if it has a combination of both, if it has something different in it, then that pencil will be preferred. So because of this need, there was again development in the technology, there was again competition amongst the producers so that they can make better quality and less price, cheaper price. For that again technology was used, and that is how the quality also went on improving. So this was all a gradual process, and to know how this processes came into being, it is very important to have the knowledge of past, that is history. It also promotes continuous development of the network of cultural interaction. Now cultural interaction, we all with, as we see, this globalization is taking place gradually. Earlier there was no transportation, therefore the villages were not so very connected to each other. Gradually when the transportation developed, people started communicating with each other, then the cultures were also exchanged. Now we can see that if we are Hindus, still we celebrate Eid, still we celebrate Christmas. So there was a cultural exchange as well in the development. So when these cultures were exchanged, so we can see now seasonal goods are there. When Diwali comes in, there are so many diyas, rangolis, new clothes you can see in the market. When Eid comes or when Christmas comes, you can see there are so many like Christmas trees are there, then Santa caps are available, then there are so many things available in the market to make the crepe, the decorations. So that needs keep on enhancing the market because of the cultural exchange. It is not confined only to the particular community, but then all the people celebrate all the festivals, and therefore when during the festive seasons, we can see when a particular festival arrives, all the things related to that festival are available in the market for sale. It is an integral part of the industrial and commercial management. It is essential to understand the history of these processes. The nature of the market and commerce has continued to change. Now in the summer season, we had the season for mangoes. Now mangoes are not grown everywhere, so if different mangoes are available in different parts of the country, and from all these parts of the country they go to all the other parts of the country as well. Like for example, Alfonso mangoes are more are from the Konkan strip, we can say, and those mangoes are so famous that they are available in all the parts of our country as well, and they are exported also. So because of this communication, because of this transportation, it has become very easy that a product manufactured in one place is available for sale at so many different places, and this has all been possible because of the development in the trade and industry. Now the nature of market and commerce has continued to change. This has continuously kept on changing. Accordingly, the nature of human relationships and the social organizations also has continued to change. We can see there are changes each and everywhere. To understand this development, it is necessary to study the history of culture, social organizations and economic institutions. It is very important because the markets are based, the sale of commodities or products or services are based on the culture, then social organizations and economic institutions. So all these, depending upon the need of the market, the production has to be changed, and for that it is very important to study the history, past. From the past experience only we can shape our future, we can plan our strategies, we can plan our present and the future. Management studies. In order to understand various factors involved in the chain of production, such as means of production, human resource and processes of production, as well as the chain of market and sales management, etc., it is essential to have a knowledge of similar functional systems of the past. Management studies. There are different factors which are involved in the chain of production, like what is to be produced, when it is to be produced, and in what quantities. Like if we firecrackers are usually purchased at the time of Diwali. The major sale is at the time of Diwali, in the month of say September, October or November. So the production of firecrackers and the sale of firecrackers will be at its peak only in the month of September, October, right? Therefore, if the production is more concentrated in the month of January, it is of no use. So this is from the past experience, or from the its application, we have come to know that firecrackers will be sold maximum in the month of October or November, and they won't be sold that much in the other months or other time of the year. So this study will definitely, the study in the past of a particular product will definitely help us to manage the amount of production, the availability of resources. Like if the manufacturing unit of firecrackers is in some village, it is never in the city, it is usually on the outskirts of the city. If it is there, and if in that area farming is the main occupation, if it is a time for farming activities, we will not get laborers. So that also has to be considered. There are so many factors which contribute for a production process, and all that has to be studied, and this is possible with the help of past knowledge which is available in the history. It is essential to have a knowledge of similar functional system of the past. It is essential to understand the psychological character of people working at various levels in the chain of production and marketing for healthy management. Now it is very important that the circumstances wherein a person is working. For example, because of study of psychology, human psychology, it has become so very easy to understand that a person's ability to work, or the output of a person, can also differ, because also can be enhanced if the situation around him is made good. For example, if the working conditions of the worker where he is working is not good, it is very hot, it is very humid, it is very stressful, then he cannot perform very well. On the contrary, if the workplace is beautified, or if it is very breezy, if it is very temperature is in control, there is sufficient light, there is sufficient motivation given to that person, then his capacity to work will definitely increase. So this study has been done for this, to come to this conclusion that the working atmosphere also has a great impact on the person's output or ability to enhance his work. So when this theories, or when these concepts were known to the people, this was only possible with the help of the past knowledge. It is essential to understand the psychological character of people working at various levels in the chain of production. Now there are different people. We can say that there are old people, there are ladies, there are very young boys who are working. So all these people have different psychological mindset. So what a very young boy wants as a worker may differ from what the, like a very young boy can definitely work over time. He can be very quick and efficient in his actions, whereas the old man, he may not be able to sit for longer hours, or he may not be able to be very swift in his actions or so, but his experience might be very important and that can help him a long way. So his style is different, his requirement is different. And a lady who has to take care of so many other things, but then that has also given her sufficient exposure on different fields or different grounds, that she can handle the things very differently. So the mindset or the psychology of different people working at different levels of production is different, and therefore the needs are different, and therefore their wants are also very different. And marketing for healthy management. In order to achieve it, understanding of the social and economic institutions and the support that support the industrial and commercial processes is important. So the management is very important for the industrial support. What and how the things are to be managed for the industrial and commercial process is very important. Knowledge of history is in this regard makes the management at various levels easier. If a manager or a person who is managing it has a knowledge of the past about the same relevant things, it becomes easier for him to handle the situation. Arts. It is important to understand the development of various art forms with the help of their style of expressions and their foundations in the form of intellectual, emotional, cultural tradition. The key to the expressions in any art form, emotional temperament of that artist, and the developmental history of the respective art form can be understood with the help of cultural history. Okay. In the field of arts also, the previous knowledge is very important. For example, there are few traditional arts which have to be done, or which have some peculiarities in them, and those peculiarities make them that art. For example, we all know the Varli art, Varli painting, but if this Varli painting has so many those triangular objects used in their art form, so that particular art form or that particular triangular styles of drawing humans or any form are very important. If those triangular forms or those geometrical shapes are not used, it will not make it a Varli art. So what are the important things, or what are the main figures used in the Varli art is very important. We should know that. So the origin or the transition, or to understand even the emotional mood, we have seen in our last year's English that art is a form of expression. The artist expresses himself in the form of a drawing, sculpture, or dance, say music, or any instrument. So when this is expressed, it is very important to understand his emotional status, or sometimes when it is a traditional art form, the culture of that particular area. So these art forms also, it has some history to it, and understanding that history is also very important, so that in today's world, when we come across such art form, we can understand, or the person who is an artist can understand what are the things which influence that particular art. Humanities. Humanities include disciplines like history, archaeology, sociology, anthropology, political science, economics, etc. To understand the history of the origin and development of these disciplines is an essential part of their learning. When we study some different subjects like sociology, history, or so many other things, the history of that particular topic or particular subject is also very important, and applied its application to different fields. All disciplines are supposed to have their origin in philosophy. Ancient people all over the world tried to speculate in order to understand the relationship between the universe and human existence. It gave rise to various mythological stories about the origin of this world, the universal order, human life, gods and goddesses, rituals, and their philosophical explanations. Roots to philosophical pondering are to be found in these mythological stories. Various disciplines under humanities have theoretical foundations based on philosophical theories. Only historical knowledge can help us in understanding these developmental stages. If you see, in the past there were so many mythological related, mostly the stories or the drawings or paintings, sculptures were so many related to the gods or goddesses or even to the demons, but now we have heroes and villains. Earlier it was gods and the demons. So there is a lot of transition in this period from the very old to the current. There are so much of transition. So to understand this transition or to understand what changes have taken place and what were the circumstances which forced the changes can also be seen or can be studied through the study of history. So we can understand these developmental stages or how this concept or how these ideas changed from the history or from the past experiences or past knowledge. Applied history and our present. People often ask about the practical value of history. The answer to the question about the nature of applied history answers this question as well. The visible and invisible relics of the past exist in the present. What we can see or what we cannot see, the glimpse of it or their existence is still there in our current state also. We nurture some kind of curiosity, attraction towards them. We have some type of attraction or we have some curiosities about these past things which are still available in the present. We wish to know more about their history because they represent the creative thoughts and traditions of our ancestors. Some of our ancestors, they have created it, and that curiosity we have, that what was the so many questions related to that particular things we have in our mind, that how this must have happened or why this is followed. For example, when our parents also so many times tell her that you should do this or you should not do that, or you should this is, we are doing it since ages now. We can see the Ganesh festival is coming quite closer. So there are different traditions wherein the Ganpati festival is celebrated in everyone's house. So everywhere, although the days are fixed or the worshipping is almost similar, but then still there is a slight change that everyone follows their own way, the traditional way of worshipping the idol Ganpati. So we have the curiosity, like why in our house this is done, why at our place this is done, then who started Ganpati in our house. So there are so many, and why this was started. Then we have so many stories related to it in the past, and we feel that to be how this is possible. But then still we try to find out the reasons, and we may or may not believe it. So there is a curiosity about all the things that we follow or that come across us, about our ancestors, about our traditions, about our culture, and it is our heritage. It helps in building our identity. The story of our heritage links us with our origin. Now there are few things we take pride in. So many times so many people take pride in their surname. Now that is their heredity, that is their origin, like that is the ancestral name or the ancestral tag which comes to us, and that makes us a part of that tradition, of that group, or of that family, we can say. So that is something which is inherited to us, or that is something which we get by our birth, and we have so many curiosities about it, that why this is followed in our house, why we are not supposed to do this. And out of that curiosity we try to learn more and more about our past, our ancestors, about the tradition, or about a practice, or about sometimes we have so many stories of our grandfathers or great grandfathers told by our parents, and then we have the curiosity that how he was so intelligent, how he has done this, how he has done that. So that gives us to intervene in our past. Hence, it becomes necessary to preserve and conserve it for the future. Okay, the history of our heritage links us with our origin. Who was our father, his father, we sometimes do, and that is the link of our origin, so that it becomes necessary to preserve and conserve it for the future. Now sometimes some people have their ancestral house in the village or something, so you have a very different feeling when we go there. So many times you see that there are few things in the ancestral house and they make you very curious why this was. Even the architecture, if you see there, is very different. It is not the way we stay in the houses now, so it is very different. So there are so many curiosities, why the roof is so high, or why there is a tulsi plant in front of the house, or sometimes you believe with the story that your parents tell you, that why it is so, and sometimes you question them so much. Do you think really it is true, or do you think really it works, or something of that type? So these things we try to inquire more and more about our ancestors, about our forefathers, and when we come to know about some peculiar things about our grandfathers or great grandfathers, we wish to tell that to our brothers, sisters, or even to our when we grow up, we tell it to our children as well. Hence, it becomes necessary to preserve and conserve it for future, for our benefit as well as for the benefit of future generations. Now, these Taj Mahal or so many other monuments, we always feel that they should be preserved as it is, so that even our children, our next generation, should be able to see this wonderful piece of architecture, so nice architecture, or they should be able to see that as well. Now, not only Taj Mahal, but then when you have your ancestral house in the village, do you feel that this should be demolished and a very new, very can say modern or westernized house should come there? Sometimes you feel, but then I think so many of us must be feeling that no यार, जो मज़ा वो गांव वाले घर में है वो फ्लैट्स में नहीं है, in the smaller houses. So everything has its peculiarity, and these old things have a very different attachment, and we feel very much attracted towards it, and we have the curiosity to find out more and more about it, how it was earlier, then how it who used to stay there, who were our neighbors, and so many things attached to it. So our ancestral things, we try to preserve it for our future generations as well. Applied history is concerned with the preservation and conservation of our heritage and make it accessible to people. Now, we can see because of pollution or because of so many other human misbehaviors, we can see that the old monuments are being deteriorated. They are not in a good condition. They are scribbled somewhere. There is so much of garbage around it, or sometimes they are now getting demolished. So there are so many problems, but then we feel that monuments or these are heritage, may it be a practice also of celebrating. Like for example, when we are told that we are not supposed to put firecrackers at Diwali, don't you feel bad? You feel as in lighting of firecrackers or bursting firecrackers is a tradition. It's an old tradition. Since so many years we wait for those firecrackers to be burst during Diwali. We wait for Diwali for that as well. So not doing that is not good. We should be allowed to do that, or we should do that. We sometimes feel. So we want these traditions to be followed by our children, our next generation as well. So whatever we have tangible, that is what we can see or what we cannot see as well. What we can see is monuments, what are dance forms, then sculptures, then these are the things which we can see. So we want all these old traditions which we can see, and these old traditions which we cannot see, like the music songs or music, old music, traditional music. Then we cannot see the customs, traditions which are followed, but then we feel these all old things should be carried to our next generation also, and therefore we try to preserve and conserve them. We try to preserve and conserve them. Like now also whenever there are weddings, we always have our grandmothers or grandfathers to know, to ask them what are the proper rituals to be followed, what are the proper things to be followed, what preparation has to be done. So we ask them and we try and use that or apply that. We try to do it that way, those traditional things. So it is very important that this traditions or cultures or monuments are preserved and transferred to the next generation. Heritage management creates opportunities of employment. In brief, applied history can be described as understanding of our present with the help of history and finding right direction for the benefit of future. So applied history also aims at knowing what was there in the past, how that past knowledge can be used in the present so that our future becomes still better, more enhanced, more glorified, or more easy and happy. I think children, we should wait here and we'll continue management and of cultural and natural heritage. We can start 3.4 in our next lecture. By the time I think you can read this page, this we can skip because there is nothing to explain. It is just at a glance you can see, and these are the world cultural heritage sites in India. So these tables are to be read and learned. So you can just read it and learn it. We can just skip this, and in the next lecture we can finish this lesson. Okay, but for now I think we should stop here.